Do you want to have your headaches because of your planning? We have a bunch of solutions available for you. Stay tuned and welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Facts on Open Automation show. Downtime is the enemy of progress, causing you delays and missed deadlines on your production line. But fear not, we have an arsenal of advanced planning tools here to save your day. Furthermore, we will discuss the essentials of planning, we will show you plenty of use cases, and we will give you useful hints on how to fuel up your planning process. And all this with two fine colleagues of mine, Mr. Matthias Heinz and Oliver Kraus. Hello.
Hello, Laszlo.
Hello, Laszlo.
Matthias, what are the essentials of planning in electronics manufacturing?
Laszlo, the essential parts are the production scheduling, the planning for the material. Yeah, everybody knows how hard it is to get material for the next batches. And don't forget the planning of the maintenance.
What is the relation between those? Who drives what?
Relation, let me explain it from the beginning. So from ERP, you know exactly how many material you have for the next batch. And exactly that is what you're going to use for the next planning. But before you start with the next planning, you have to know in advance about any scheduling downtime. And those scheduling downtimes can be recipe changes, setup changes, new product introduction, or breaks.
Breaks? Our audience doesn't want to have breaks. It's 24/7 production.
That's right, for sure. The line should run 24/7. But with breaks, I mean not that somebody's doing nothing. Yeah, it's more or less that a break can be a shift change or a break for the maintenance. And this is exactly important to know, because first then you can ensure that you're going to keep your planned due dates.
Maintenance, that's your area of expertise, Oli. So what have you experienced? What is the challenge nowadays with maintenance management and plan?
Laszlo, that's a good question. Maintenance today brings various challenges. First of all, it is important that you understand when equipment can be maintained. To know these slots, it is important that the production planning is referring to these slots. And you know, I can schedule maintenance in these slots. And you also need to know how long these slots are. So it's very important for you or any system that takes care of your maintenance to understand which equipment I have, when to maintain the equipment, and how long does it take.
So how can you automate? How can our audience automate? And what can assist to this process?
So to automate the whole process of maintenance, planning and scheduling, it is important that the system or your system, your software understands and knows what equipment is existing in your factory. So you need a good tracking system that lists all of the equipment, the assets that you want to manage. Second, it is important to have the maintenance plans. The individual maintenance plans to each individual equipment need to be maintained and stored in the software, in the tool as well. And the third part is that the instructions for each individual maintenance task, they also should be available within the tool. So in the end, this tool can take over scheduling maintenance and giving the instructions how to do the maintenance properly.
Oli, then what tool do you recommend our audience to use?
I recommend Factory Equipment Center. This tool delivers all the feature sets that I've mentioned and addresses the challenges that we have mentioned just a couple minutes ago. And to understand how this tool works, I've brought a video with us that we can have a look on.
Factory Equipment Center identifies all your equipment automatically. ASMPT equipment, like machines, heads, feeders, or nozzles. All is identified and set up within the Factory Equipment Center, fully automated. But beyond that, Equipment Center also schedules your equipment automatically. On the example of feeders, where there's easily 5,000 to 10,000 feeders in a vicinity, all of the feeders will be scheduled in a central calendar in the system from where you can also perform the maintenance. You not only see when a feeder is due, you also can click on the instance you see in there, you open maintenance, and then you work through the workflow, which is also provided by us to you, where every employee has to go through the same sequence to perform the maintenance. And if an employee is not knowing on the task he has to do, what he needs to do, he just can go into the documentation and get some information on how to perform the task. And with maintenance performed, also this data is collected and put into the system in dashboards, where you can see for each individual feeder what has been done by whom, and how long a maintenance has been taken. So you get a full report on your maintenance history for any equipment you have in the system. Well, I talked about feeders, but for sure this is available for machines, heads and nozzles as well.
Factory Equipment Center, our recommended solutions for you when it comes to maintenance planning. Oliver, I have some questions collected. Usually, equipment supplier do recommend a certain cycle to maintenance manager when it comes to their equipment. Now, with Factory Equipment Center, we as an equipment supplier, we say you can adapt this. Why?
As you said, Laszlo, it's recommendations that we give, but recommendations are calculated based on data that we have done during the development, but that doesn't necessarily mean that these recommendations fit to all customers. And that is the big benefit that you can gain with using such a tool with a flexible maintenance schedule. Just as an example, ASMPT recommends for a placement head a maintenance cycle of 3 months. As I explained, this is recommended for 24/7 production lines. That doesn't always fit to your profile. So in your case, it might be or turn out that you can extend these cycles to 4 months instead of 3. And that would lead to a saving of 25% of maintenance effort and time each year without losing any quality on the equipment. And that is the big benefit you can gain with flexible maintenance schedules.
Good. Another big topic when it comes to electronics manufacturing is feeders and nozzles. How about the maintenance of those tools?
Feeders and nozzles, they are important, but lots of people still don't think these are important because that's only small parts of a production line. But in fact, feeders and nozzles are tools that are used to produce your products. So in the end, they relate to the quality of your products. So it must be your target to ensure that these tools that you use are verified, maintained, and in good shape. So the resulting quality of your products is fitting to your expectations.
So they are handled just like any other equipment.
Right.
Good. And my last question is regarding maintenance. Many teams do a very, very fine job. They adjust maintenance according to the production and they record the activities on an Excel sheet. So what would be the benefit for them by using Factory Equipment Center?
The most important benefit would be not to use Excel sheets again. Yeah, as Laszlo already explained, a lot of you do proper maintenance. They do proper maintenance and record all the activities, but in the end, it is stored on local files on Excel sheets. By using Factory Equipment Center, you could get rid of this manual storing and collecting of data. It's automatically collecting all this data. You can do analysis and you can do improvement projects on the findings you have out of this data. And that is a big benefit compared to Excel storing or local file storing of these tasks and activities.
Thanks, Oli, for your insights. I was interested in the insights of an external expert, and I was very happy to find Mr. Eric Coupier, a dedicated expert on maintenance and founder of R2 Reliability, based in Brisbane, Australia. Mr. Eric Coupier has a lot of videos on YouTube, which are a valuable source for information when it comes to maintenance. And I'm glad that he joins us now live to ask him some questions. Welcome, Eric. I was looking forward to do this interview with you. Can you briefly introduce yourself and introduce the services you offer?
Sure, Laszlo. First of all, thank you for having me on the show. My name is Eric Copier. I run a company called Road to Reliability. In essence, we are a training company and we help companies around the world with their maintenance and reliability by focusing on training and coaching their teams to run their core maintenance processes better. Our clients tend to be large industrial companies in the oil and gas sector, mining, chemicals, utilities, and large-scale manufacturing plants.
You advised many teams in various industries. What is the key insight which is valid across all those industries?
I think probably one thing that almost all these industries and all our clients have in common is that, it's sad to say, but they're kind of quite wasteful and inefficient. If you look around these plans, you'll see that there's just a huge amount of wasted opportunity. And that's for multiple reasons. But one of the biggest reasons you see is that they don't have good planning and scheduling in place. And so there's a lot of waste when it comes to the execution of the maintenance. You know, their technicians go to work, sometimes without having a clear scope of work. They may not have the right tools. The parts may not be there. And so there's a lot of delays during the execution of that work. It's very inefficient and actually costs them a lot of money. And so one of the things I help my clients to do is by teaching their teams and coaching their teams to get better processes in place and by eliminating that waste so that by better planning and better scheduling, you get more work done with the same team that you have in place.
Yes, I have seen in another interview with you, its maintenance is sometimes overcomplicated. Can you give our audience who is engaged in maintenance two insights, two helpful instructions which they should adhere to?
Sure. So I fully agree that, maintenance is often made more complicated than it needs to be. So, two things I would say is firstly, focus on the basics, focus on the processes that really can help your business improve. And those basics are good planning and scheduling so that you can improve your productivity, good preventive maintenance so you focus doing the tasks that really add value, and eliminating repeat problems. Stop fixing forever, but fix forever. And if you take care of those three things, then a lot of things fall into place and you'll be amazed at what kind of impact that can have on your business. The second key point is that you're only really ever going to be good as your team. So you need to invest in your team. You need to make sure you coach them, you develop them, you train them, and you've got to make sure that they really understand what they need to be doing and how they need to be doing it.
Awesome, Eric. Thanks for being on the show and thanks for giving us your insights.
Well, thank you for having me, Laszlo, and goodbye to you and goodbye to everybody else on the show.
This was Eric Copier, everybody. If you want to contact him, we have his LinkedIn address and the web address of the Road to Reliability R2 company in our show description. Matthias, now we have an excellent maintenance plan, so the production planner should be happy.
The planner is happy, and lastly, if the planner is happy, everyone is happy. But how the planning can be done with the Works software suite, let's rewatch some videos of our last show.
Matthias, planning is your Steckenpferd, as it is said here in Germany. And it's an important workflow, so it's your hobby. So how did Works change the life of a planner?
Yeah, Laszlo, you have to see still in today's time, planning is a very complex process, and therefore very often in companies still a manual process where you need a lot of experience. And due to this, it's very hard to run updates, changes, and this is exactly going to be changed with Works. How we're going to do this, I've prepared some videos for you today. And if you are ready, guys, we would start with the first video about the import of production data from ERP and SAP systems and the optimization of the optimal production sequence.
Importing ERP data into a production planning system can be a major challenge in some electronics factories. Not so with Works. Because the Works planning application supports you in importing any CSV files easily and flexibly into your planning scenario. Here I show you how easy it is to transfer CSV files from your ERP system to our planning software. With the import, we take all the relevant information from the ERP system to select the required placement recipes. Once the data is imported, you can easily optimize your production planning. The result, an optimized production plan for 2 lines. And now you can get started. This is the optimized production plan for the 2 lines. It can now be released and started. This is how flexible and easy it is to import ERP data, reuse it and optimize it in a further step.
That looks good. So it's fully automated. But Matthias, what about flexibility? What if I have some changes?
Yeah, flexibility is a quite important topic. Yeah, we all know the situation. The components don't arrive in time. And due to that, you have to change your planning quite often. And in the next video, I'm going to show how Works will support you to react on this issue quite fast and flexible. Let's check it out.
Maintaining a production plan is always a challenge for every production planner. This makes it even more important to have a tool like Works that makes it easy to edit any production plan. With this planning module, the only thing we have to do is click on Edit Plan, and then select a specific board or recipe. Here I click on an NPI board that I need to move forward in the planning, for example, because the required process engineer is not available at the originally suggested time. It immediately shows me all the available time slots to which I can move the board. The only thing I have to do now is to move the board to a later time and insert it there. I can also see all the consequences of this change. Here it fits perfectly, and I was able to solve my planning challenge quite easily by moving the board to a later time slot. That's how easy and flexible it can be to edit the production plan in your factory.
That looks fine. Good. Even a manual change cannot go wrong, Matthias.
That's right. But Laszlo, we still have to check one manual task in this workflow.
What manual task?
After the planning, we have to transfer our planning or new updates to the production lines.
Mm-hmm.
And without being connected to the production lines, you have to do this still manually. And therefore, you would lose a lot of worthwhile time. And so once this last step is done, your planning is done.
Then the job is done. So how long did it take?
In general, or in average, I would say not longer than half an hour.
So
this is quite short, yes.
That's very short. So even I could do the planning as a newbie.
Tough question, but I think yes. So now we have seen how easy the rough planning can be done. But let me shortly summarize what we have seen in the videos. So the first video was about the import of the release batches into Works Production Planner, and then the distribution of the batches across all lines and the automatic clustering of the family setups. The second video was the editing of the scheduling, because for sure something happens and then the customer still wants to do some changes, and with this function he can still do some changes before he sends the final results down to the production lines. So the rough planning is done, Laszlo.
Rough planning is done, but my question is, can rough planning be one-to-one implemented on the production line?
Sure not. Because we know rough planning, yeah, like the name, rough. So there is always something that can happen, and planning is a never-ending business. And we have to see the complete process. Because before we send the final results down to the production lines, there are important steps in between. Because to start with the production, we first have to pick the material for the next setup, yeah, out of the stock. And we have to prepare the next setup in the preparation area in time. Otherwise, the lines will run out of orders.
So we need to do some fine-tuning.
This should be possible at any time, yeah, because every hour there can something happen. And here you can do a fine adjustment, yes.
So this fine-tuning, scheduling, what tools do support here and what are the benefits out of them?
For this fine planning, fine scheduling or so, we have Works Order Manager. And on the screen, you're going to see here the overview, how the Order Manager looks like. So on the first line, this is exactly the result of the rough planning, where you might already done some fine-tuning. And then the line below is the preparation time. And you see that we do here also a time planning That means you know exactly when you have to start with the preparation of the next setup. And the third line in this picture gives you the information when you have to start with the picking of the components for the setup.
So our audience has the benefit, they receive trigger points.
Exactly.
So what is if a process is delayed? Can Works Order Manager also support here?
Yes, for sure. And I think everybody knows that you are standing at a line waiting for the next setup because the line is shortly out of orders. And this is exactly where you get also some transparency from Works Order Manager, because you get the progress of the setup preparation via Works Setup Center. So that means by scanning the tables, you will see the progress of the preparation, and the same for the material picking with Works Material Manager. You see always how far you are in the process.
Mm-hmm. So in worst case, someone could support it.
And this is how it should be, yes.
One important question is, so in Works we have, I understand, then two Gantt charts, one production planner and one order manager.
Yes.
Why do we have those?
This is exactly the question that I do get quite often from the customers. Yeah, why we do have two Gantt charts. So you have to see we have two different areas and we have different people, and for sure we have also then different requirements. And by using two different tools, I think it's much more easier to keep an overview and to ensure that the production is on time.
Very good. Then I have a final question to all those tools we have presented. Those are open automation modular solutions. What is the total benefit out of those tools for our audience?
Oh, sorry. Yes, for sure, Laszlo. Also, those tools are quite flexible. You can use them at any time, at every point. But the real benefit out of this complete process is that we want to avoid any kind of line downtime. And this is what's all about, because every line downtime costs you money, and this is exactly what you want to avoid. And this is exactly the target by using those of our tools.
Perfect. Thanks, gentlemen.
You're welcome.
Thanks for sharing all this information. Thank you. According to my plan, I have some final recommendations to our audience. First of all, if you want to see us live, you can visit us at following events, which you see in the ticker down below. If you need more information about the products presented, you can always have a remote demonstration. For that, please contact your ASMPT account manager, and or you can download the white paper. The link is in the description. Please do not forget to subscribe to our show and give us a thumbs up. Our next show will be in September, and it's all about printing. You can now already hit the bell to remind you. And last but not least, we see each other in this next show. Thanks for joining us. Have a nice day and stay open.